parties, pleasure, alcohol, friends. That was basically my former life. This is why I conclude it as being an aimless wanderer and a pleasure seeker. I did not grow up with my biological parents. In actual fact, I was raised by my grandparents who are late now. So at some point in time, when I was still a toddler or baby, my grandparents took me in, and they basically raised me. So I was kind of like a grandma and a grandpa's boy. And you know, when it comes to that, grandma and grandpa always spoil you at times. Our relationship was good, but in our home growing up, religion and Christianity were not really primary aspects. The relationship with my grandparents was actually good, actually excellent. My relationship with my parents, I had a relationship with my parents, but not at the level that I would have wanted it, looking back now. But it does not take away from my experience being raised by my grandparents. So that was basically my life, with good relationships, but on the spiritual level, there was really no groundwork, no foundation. I worked with my dad doing carpentry work just when I finished school. So my granny told me, no, I don't want you to... We never had money actually to send me to university and that kind of thing. However, they said, no, we don't want you to roam about in the streets and turn out like all the other boys. And I was already like all the other boys in a sense. However, she just didn't want me to sit on street corners. And she told me, listen here, I'm going to call your dad and I'm going to ask him to actually take you in. My dad was doing carpentry work at the time, and he told me to join him. During that time, I was going through moments of wavering. I had certain aspirations, which I actually wanted to become an accountant. I think to a large extent it was fueled by the desire to have a lot of money, to drive an expensive car, and as a young man have a big home to live in, expensive tiles and, you know, the look, everything. I actually enrolled and I studied by correspondence, but for the life of me, I could not get down to study. Looking back and thinking about it all, I could not fulfill the hours that was required for me to study by correspondence. And I would come home from a day's labor with my dad and my cousin who was also working with us, carrying heavy toolboxes and things like that. My muscles were sore, my body was aching almost every second day, every third day. And I tried to push to study, but at the end of the day, I was so tired that I could not really study. Soon I abandoned that. it was the norm. Everybody did it, and I conformed to it. So yes, in actual fact, yeah, I was so keen on tasting all the different alcohols and drinking the beers and the ciders and everything, so that I always looked forward to the next drink. At that point in time, looking back now, I would consider myself as an aimless wanderer in this life. In actual fact, the disconnect from God, having been born that way, I was a wanderer, moving to and fro. Little did I know that I was actually searching in all of this wandering. I was kind of like a pleasure seeker, an individual that I was bent on the next hype, the next move, the next pleasure. In actual fact, I would consider myself one who was living from, let me say, weekend to weekend. That's how I lived. I always looked forward to that Saturday night, those Saturday night parties, the getting drunk and all that kind of things, because that came part of the package of the community that I actually grew up in. Everybody was doing it. Let me join the group and let me move on. I was a drunkard on the street, walking around with a beer bottle. So much so that even the women in the community didn't want their children to be my friends. In actual fact, I was a lonely wanderer as well. When a song comes up that I like, I would jump on the table. While everybody danced on the dance floor, I would be on the table, dancing on the table, enjoying the song, so much so that even bouncers had to come and get me off from the table. Why are you dancing there? Rating my life from 1 to 10 before Christ, I would say it's a 1. You know, there was a cousin of mine that actually committed to praying for me. I did not know it at the time, but she prayed for our family firstly. She prayed night and day. But then she changed the prayers. She said, Lord, I do not want you to bring the whole family to conversion. I'm asking for one in the home that you can bring to conversion, that will shine as a light in that home and bring the message of the gospel over to the rest of the family. I did not know it at the time, but she prayed every single day, committed to praying for the conversion of a soul in our home. I thought about giving my heart to the Lord. But my main query and my main question to God was this: Lord, how do you become a Christian? How do you give your heart? My father, my cousin, and myself were all together. So what happened is they left me alone on site. So I was busy with the doors for the cupboards. I was busy with the doors. And I was busy with a plane, just planing the door. And my father came to me and my father said, listen, I have to go to another site. I'm going to leave you alone here and I'm going to take your cousin with. So they left. Little did I know that the God of heaven was orchestrating a moment in which I would be alone with Him. I was alone in a room busy with a lot of doors. I was busy planing the door and I started talking to God. And I'm planing the door and I'm talking to God and I'm saying, God, I don't know what it is to be a Christian. You need to show me how. What do I need to do to give my heart to you? In that moment, there was an overwhelming sense of conviction that rested upon my shoulders that I could not explain where it came from. I felt this heavy weight and this burden on my shoulder and even in my heart and my mind. And I started praying, Lord, what is happening to me? What is happening to me in this moment? Because I felt all teary-eyed. And then I said, Lord, help me. What's happening? Because I can't understand. I'm beginning to shake a bit and I'm beginning to feel this sense of guilt pressing upon me. And while I was praying, it's like I got an impression or a flash of the cross of Calvary. My cheeks were wet. The tears were dropping while I was planing the door. And the only statement I could utter in that moment, as a young man, a young lost man, was, Lord, I am sorry for the life that I have loved. I felt, let me say this, I felt like I was walking on air. I felt like all the weights were gone. And I saw life through the eyes of God in a different way, in a different light. From the past to the new life, God took the beer bottle and converted it to a Bible. God took the clubs that I went to and He converted it to a church. God took the alcohol, the tables that were laden with alcohol, and He converted it to a communion table. And God took this young man whose every second word, not a word of a lie, every second to third word that came out of my mouth was vulgar. God took it and God converted it. And God made me a preacher of the gospel. With the voice of an archangel and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. I would say personal time with God. That is at the height. I think that should be at the priority list of every Christian. That God should be number one. When I talk to people and I share my story with them, they cannot believe. Are you the same? Are you that guy that you just described? The drunkard in the street, rocking to and fro. Are you the one who used to swear at the people in the community? Are you the one that used to fight with everybody? I used to fight with guys, getting to gang fights, and God says, no, you're going to fight the cause of righteousness. I'm calling you to do that and to proclaim the gospel to the world. It is the grace of God that will bring a transformation in our lives. The encounter with the person of Christ. It is not an isolated power. The power is the person of Jesus. And so in this power, in the connecting with Jesus, praying for Him to help, change will come. I have found the one who has given me life, and in that giving of life, He has given me purpose.